Hi, and welcome to another episode of All Things Considered. I'm doing this video early in the morning, whereas usually I do my videos at night. I was having a hard time sleeping, so I woke up early and I'm going to do a video now. What I want to talk about is what I consider to be the Great Seattle Band-Aid. And what I mean by that is that the City Council would rather put a Band-Aid over the top of the problem that it's having than to fix the underlying causes of the problem. Case in point, Kashima Sawant wants to pass a bill that will make it illegal for landlords to kick tenants out during the cold winter months. In theory, that's good. But in actuality, that could be really, really bad because you're not fixing the underlying problem of why the person would be kicked out in the first place. It is possible that a tenant could be kicked out of an apartment due to the fact that they're just a bad tenant. Also, they could be kicked out because the landlord decides to raise the rent and they can no longer afford it. Whatever the case may be, the landlord, I think, in the long run will be the one that suffers. And I'm not down on the homeless. I'm not down on poor people. As a matter of fact, I was homeless for a very long time. And I was very poor for a very, very long time. And according to Bill Gates, I would still be considered poor. Although I've figured out to make it work somehow. I don't have a huge lifestyle. I don't have to go out with the Joneses every day. I don't have to go out to fancy restaurants every night and go binge drinking with my buddies after work. I don't have to go look at the newest concert screamer that's on the block. I can be happy being at home, watching TV from time to time, or I can be happy taking mass transit. I can be happy sitting at a Taco Bell as well as the Space Needle. I don't have to be at the Space Needle every single night having a $300 dinner. Nothing wrong with that. If you can afford that and you like it, then that's fine. But the key word is affording it. Just because you can do something, that doesn't mean that you can afford to do it. Just because you figured out a way to get it done, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can afford to keep doing it. Now, Kashima Sawant wants the city council to jump on board with her resolution. And like I said, in theory, that sounds really good. But in actuality, I can see whether it be October, November, whenever the cold front starts to the point where it would be unethical to kick somebody out in the cold. From the time that starts up until like April, when spring starts, you're going to get some people that, if they're troublemakers and need to be kicked out, they're going to become worse troublemakers. And if it's just the simple fact of they're having a hard time keeping their rent together, they're not going to pay any rent because they know they can't be kicked out. And the landlords can't do nothing. And then when it's time for the rent to be paid, they're not going to pay it because they're going to move on to the next thing if they can. Either that or they're just going to get out of their apartment and be homeless with all that dough they've saved up, or maybe they didn't save up anything. Maybe they spent it all. I just really believe that the city council is putting a Band-Aid on all their problems. The city council is not fixing the underlying See, that's why I like the TV series House. Because not only are the doctors on that show trying to figure out what the problem is, they're trying to figure out how to fix the problem that they're not just band-aiding over the symptoms. There are 4 or 5 doctors that are really struggling, and it gives us, the viewer, a chance to try to decide what's wrong. How can we help them? How do we fix them? And with Seattle, I don't really see anything getting fixed. I see bandages put on it, like tent cities. Every 60 days or every 90 days, they have to move from the spot they're in. Instead of finding them a regular spot where they can be at all the time, instead of the city allocating a particular area and helping them build cover shelter, they're making them move every 90 days or whatever it is. Now, I've brought it up several times that there is a few Sam's Clubs that are not in business anymore. The buildings are just sitting there. And the buildings are in great shape. They could be rehabbed to allow people to move in there as a shelter. I get it. There's red tape. There's padding the cost. All this stuff that comes with the city council doing anything. Now, I'm telling you, I plan on, in 2025, I planned on running for mayor of Seattle. I am sick and tired of the swamp being the way it is. I'm sick and tired of the city saying they're going to do something and they don't. I'm sick and tired of people saying, yes, we can do this, but this is how much it's going to cost. When actually it's only going to cost this much, they say it's going to cost this much. I am sick and tired of that. I am sick and tired of that. I do not believe that it would cost as much as they say it does. I think it can be done cheaper. And I think it can be done right. Cheaper. Now, back to this. When Seattle started to grow, it's always wanted to be something. It had an idea in its head what it wanted to be. Seattle has always had this idea in its head, what it wanted to be. But it never really quite figured it out yet. So when other people move in, they try to influence Seattle to become the Seattle that they see in their head. We went from being settlers with Chief Seelith helping us out, which gave us the name Seattle, Chief Seattle. He helped us settle the area. He welcomed us with open arms, not realizing how devious and how dark and sinister Europeans could be. You know, the British and the Europeans have to be bad when a British rock band writes a song in favor of the American Indian, which I happen to be half. I'm Navajo and half Israeli. My mother was from Israel. My father is Navajo Indian. We were adopted, me and my sister, when I was 5 and she was 3.5 going on 4. So it's like I was about to turn 6 when we got adopted. So the song that I'm referring to by Iron Maiden was called Run to the Hills. And it starts out, the white man came across the sea. He brought us pain and misery. He stole our tribes. He killed our creed. He took our meat for his own need. So if the white man was as great as people want them to be, Iron Maiden would have never wrote that song, because apparently they felt guilty about what their ancestors had done to the Native American Indians. So, having said that, Seattle has always wanted to be something different. When the big gold rush happened, Seattle didn't become part of the gold rush, but it did help the gold rush. Seattle started selling items that they could use, the gold rush, wheelbarrows and pickaxes and hammers and shovels and things of that nature, pack mules and stuff. So yeah, they got famous for that. Then it became the big lumber yards, because Seattle had all this timber that they were cutting down. See, Seattle was already starting to form itself. What we see now, the Seattle that we see now, was nowhere near like it is now. All of downtown had to be graded. It had to be cut down. It had to be torn down. The timber had to be cut. Somehow they managed to push the dirt after they leveled the downtown. See, downtown used to be kind of like hilly and kind of rocky. But they managed to smooth downtown almost to the point where it's sort of flat. Of course, they didn't get it exactly flat. It's kind of at an angle. They decided, even then, they decided that living on top of the hill overlooking the city was a privilege, that if you had the money, you could afford it. So they were already starting to reshape Seattle. Then Boeing came in, and it became known as the Jet City, because everybody wanted the jet. Jet City. That song, Jet City Woman, was written about Seattle. And because Seattle is like a woman. It's finicky, it's picky. Of course, now it's like Seattle is no longer finicky and picky. Now Seattle is like a tired, washed up streetwalker. Seattle's nothing but a whore now, passing itself off to the highest bidder. Thanks in part to Jeff Bezos, Amazon. Microsoft gets a pass. I give them a pass, a hard pass, because Bill Gates and his partner Paul Allen, they've given back to Seattle a lot. When the libraries needed to be redone, they gave money to the library and redid the library. They put in brand new computers and internet systems. Yes, they had strings attached. They didn't want people surfing porn all day. And although there is no clear legal definition of porn, I can understand why they would put a few strings on their internet, because they want people to learn, not surf, not become a couch surfer all day, couch potato, playing video games all day because they've got nowhere to go. So, again, Seattle has put a big bandage on top of what the problems are. Instead of the city council diving in and fixing the problem, they put a band-aid over it and hope that nobody notices, like your coffee table that's all dinged up. Instead of fixing the dings, they decided they wanted to just put a cover over it, a scarf over it, and cover over the dings so nobody could see them. The dings are still there, Seattle. So, having said that, if you've paid attention to this video and you're with me so far, please put a comment below if you have an idea on how to fix Seattle. How should the Seattle City Council proceed? I don't want them to be at a stalemate. I want them to proceed. Seattle needs it. If you have a better idea for a better video, please put that in the comments also. If you like my video, please hit the like button, smash that big old thumbs up, and also hit the subscribe button wherever it's located at down here. Hit the subscribe button, because I cannot do this alone. Yes, I can do videos and I can post them, but they are much better if somebody views them and has ideas on how we should proceed. I have nothing but utmost respect for you, the viewer. Yes, my videos are not always to your liking. If you've watched a video all the way through and you've seen something I can do better, put it in a comment below. I would love to talk to you about it. Anyway, the thumbs up if you like them, subscribe button if you want to subscribe. I'm going to try to do more videos more often. I've been going through a bunch of things and I've been unable to do that. So anyway, I'm more back to normal now. So if you're interested in keeping track of me, hit that subscribe button. This has been All Things Considered. Have a good morning, Seattle, and all points beyond.